Welcome to the latest episode of the Amazon Profitability Problem Solved podcast. I'm your host, Emma Bagley, and today we are joined by Ken Jacobs, VP of International Sales at Hound, originally from the US, based now in Sweden. So welcome, Ken.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
No, absolute pleasure. Ken, can you more formally introduce yourself? How long have you been working at Hound? A brief overview of your role and how long you've been working with Amazon.
Okay. I've been working at Hound for about 8 years. VP of International Sales, like you said. So I take care of all the sales that are outside of basically of North America. And then, of course, that means Amazon International or Amazon EU, UK falls under me. We've been working with Amazon in Europe. We started that in 2019 with them. So a little bit of experience both with the domestic programs and the FOB and DI programs that they have.
And you obviously was there all over COVID and the huge rise of retail sales on Amazon over 2020, 2021. How did you survive that period?
Well, a lot of inventory building actually, and we were able to cope with a lot of that because Amazon would use the FOB program where we were sending direct from factories in the Far East to Amazon, UK, Germany. So that helped offset. And then just really trying to keep up with speed with all the consumer sales, with everybody buying dogs and cats and, becoming a pet parent. So It was a great time.
Yeah, I became a pet parent during COVID. So, I know I think everybody bought some kind of animal, didn't they, over that COVID period, which seems like such a long time ago now, doesn't it? 2020, 2021.
A long time ago. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So, question, what percentage of the business is Amazon as a channel for you?
Mm-hmm. I'd probably say in Europe, I'd say it's about probably like 15% of the total business.
And is that a similar?
But in COVID, it was different. And in COVID, it was probably 30% of the business, just because you had such high turnover outside of the retail channels.
Interesting. And is that similar, would you say, in the US as well?
Yeah, I think Amazon became absolutely our biggest account during the COVID era. It's the same thing. Yeah.
And for listeners, Hound is a vendor brand, isn't it? You sell directly to Amazon. Is that correct?
Correct. And we have had a split model in the US before where we had Seller Central and Vendor Central. But actually, due to our success and both of those, Amazon actually moved us only into vendor. They kind of wouldn't allow us to do both.
So the main focus of this podcast will be for Amazon vendor brands. Let's get started into the more formal questions. What would you say are some of the biggest challenges Hound has faced operating on Amazon, and how have these challenges changed over the years?
Biggest challenges?
Too many to mention.
So many with Amazon. I'd say one of the biggest challenges that we had actually was Amazon over ordering and building too much stock, which is a worse problem to have. And we've kind of learned from that. Of course, initially you think, oh, it's great, we're getting these massive orders, and it's like revenue is generating, it's doing really well. But then you come to the point where demand slows down. They've overbought, and then of course they want to come back to you and they want you to support to sell out the inventory, which isn't good for you because then you're losing margin on that. So I think that's one of our biggest challenges that we learned to overcome, is to kind of mitigate that. And we can look at what is Amazon actually forecasting. Are they overbuying, and bring that a little bit more in line so they actually meet more with their sell-through. Which keeps you out of this constant, promo and them asking for money and and wanting you to mark down products and whatnot. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges, to stay out of that loop. And then, of course, then it's the chargebacks that you get for late deliveries and everything else. And I think when you're based in Europe and you're delivering all to all the marketplaces, including the UK, that's one of the key things you need to negotiate properly with the vendor manager, is to make sure that you have delivery windows that can actually be achieved.
So they sound like significant challenges. And how have you kind of mitigated those challenges? Like, is it the relationship that you've built up with Amazon over time? Is it software? Is it in-house kind of support that's enabled you to track and monitor that data more proficiently?
Yeah, actually, we used to have actually a individual who helped us with both inventory planning, the Amazon forecasting, because you get 3 different types of forecasts from Amazon, and you kind of have to find the truth in between those. And what we've actually moved to about a year ago is we created our own algorithm that goes out and pulls all the forecasts. And then we combine that with our Power BI, which monitors Amazon sell-through, Amazon sell-in, and then that helps kind of balance out those reports. So we can more easily detect when they're overbuying, underbuying, et cetera, so that we can key on certain items if we have to.
Thank you. So for any brands listening that are perhaps new to vendor or far less experienced, do you have any recommendations or advice on how best to do that kind of planning and forecasting, and pushing back perhaps to Amazon as well?
Yeah, well, and I mean, sometimes I think one of the things is you have to be not afraid to cut the PO so that they don't overbuy. So if you, let's say they normally buy 500 units, every week or every 2 weeks or something, and then you all of a sudden see, a 4,000 unit order or a 5,000 unit order, you need to take a look at that and go into the Amazon Vendor Central, take a look at that. Is there, have they sold through their inventory, and actually kind of dig into it. And you can also ask for help from the ABS and say, look, this seems like a really large order. What do you see driving on your side? And then figure that out before you actually accept all those units and ship them in. Because again, you're trying to avoid the future problem.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So the second question then, I suppose it's more general outside about with Hound as well. What sort of signals make Amazon invest more heavily in your brands? And how have you kind of seen that change again over time, perhaps in different products or the different brands under the umbrella?
Well, I think initially when we first started, we have very strong brands. So like the Nina Ottoson brand, for instance, that's very strong for us. So we had a lot of leverage with Amazon because there's a lot of demand for it. So there you end up being a little bit more of a power position, and you can actually push back quite a bit because there is organic demand already for your products. So I think that's one of the key things that you can do. But in terms of getting Amazon, to push you, really difficult to have them push you. But what you can do is you can use different levers. For instance, you can invest in advertising so that you actually increase the sell-through, which increases your organic rank. You can separately invest in promotions. That also will help increase your organic rank. And if you do that, the more that your organic ranking is going up while you're using the advertising or promotion basically to lift the brand, that's when Amazon their algorithm will actually give you more face time when the consumers are coming into that particular category. So I think a combination of those. But Amazon really doing anything for you? I not really. I don't really find that. They'll help you, but it's like they don't really invest in you. They invest in in some of their deal days where they do a lot of advertising for that. That helps actually drive consumers into the business. And then I think it depends on which category you're in and which event it is as to how beneficial it's going to be for you as a brand.
I imagine there's quite a lot of push from Amazon for your range to offer kind of discounts, because out of Hound, you're in a very competitive space, increasingly competitive, especially from, the Chinese imports. So there's this balance, isn't there, between like offering the deals, the discounts, and then spending money on advertising, in terms of then the profit margin by product level. How do you make those decisions, which ones to say, yes, you're going to invest, strong promotional deals on, and which to say either no, or to negotiate a lower deal, a percentage discount as an example?
Well, I think it really depends on what you actually want to do. So there's been periods where I will be completely pushed back and say, we're either not going to participate, or we're going to give you a very, very low fee. But let's say if you're, for a very short period of time, let's say you're getting a lot of competition from Chinese or whatever, it could be worth it to lose some margin on that with the promotion, and give them a little bit extra margin, what they're actually asking for, so that you lift up your products more organically and get out of the advertising space, so that you get that organic ranking, and you're not having to spend as much money in advertising to offset the competitors. So there, I think you can leverage some of that. And then I think you do have to look at your profitability, and you have to look at it on the SKU level, and also the popularity of the product. So if you have a fast moving, high ranking product, and they want it even more, but they want you to basically, give them 50% of what you're selling it to them, then, for me, that's just like a hard no. I'll give you a little bit to pull it down on, and give it a little bit promotional price, where it's like 5-10% off or something, but you don't need to give away that much. So I think my recommendation would be is you can't just do it even on a brand level. I think you need to look at it on a SKU level, and determine exactly what type of promo money you want to actually do to support that SKU, which goes into the total brand.
Yeah, really good answer. Really helpful answer. Thank you. There's no hard and fast rule on this, is there? It's your business objectives, your product portfolio objectives.
Yeah, well, it changes all the time. So, it's constantly in flux. And what, they might come to you to Prime Day on a SKU, and they want, let's say that's $10. They want you to support the SKU with. And then, but when you get to October, they're looking for $1, and that could be because, your organic ranking has gone up so much, they don't need so much. So it's constantly in flux.
So a top piece of advice for any new or less experienced brands there when being approached by Amazon to offer significant discounts and deals, what would you say to them?
I would say look at your sellout figures, or actually what you're selling into Amazon. And if you feel that, a particular item is doing really well on its own organically, then it's like, I would not give them as much as they're probably asking for, because you don't need to do that. So give them the amount that puts it at a promotional price off that you think is reasonable, so you're actually not deteriorating the brand or the particular product.
Thank you. And curious question, when making these decisions, do you look at the competition, or are you laser focused on your product lines, your profit margins, your organic ranking? Do you look at what competitors, do you kind of like get sidelined by looking at the competition at all? Is that helpful to do at all?
It is, but I don't do it at that particular time. I think you need to know what the competition is doing, but it's when you're advertising your brand and you're out there and you want to put your brand on promotion. I don't like, let's say, give such a big discount that I'm going to try to match like a Chinese competitor, for instance, because it's like at the same time I'm trying to do that, the Chinese competitor is probably reducing their price for the same event at the same time. So there's nothing to be gained in that. So I look at it more of, how popular it is, what kind of orders do we get? And then you have to take in taken into consideration is like, what is the impact on your net margin, not your gross margin, considering all the transport fees, co-ops, etc. And I think that's a much better gauge of how to manage the business.
Yeah. A lot of brands can get so distracted by looking at their competition, and that just becomes a race to the bottom, doesn't it? And only Amazon benefits, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if you do that, all of a sudden, Amazon's knocking your door saying, we need cost reductions because, your now the price of your recommended price in the market has been pulled down so much that we need more margin. And so all you're doing is you're eating it from both ends, and then you're going to end up, it's not going to be a profitable business for you.
Yeah, not sustainable at all. Okay, thank you very much. How have you maintained this is a big question for vendor brands out there. How have you maintained influence over pricing, the range, and kind of like the growth, rather than simply reacting to Amazon? So we've talked about promotions and deals, but this kind of price of the product, and as you mentioned earlier, you've got distributors selling your product on your listing as well. So there's this whole battle of you're competing with your own customers. Amazon's, challenging you as well. So how do you kind of keep control of that?
Well, and that's I would say one of the key things for any brands that are like coming on to Amazon or whatever. You should own Amazon yourself, because you cannot have your distributors selling on Amazon at the same time, because if you're dealing like for the UK, for instance, I mean, we sell in Pets at Home, and we sell on Amazon, and we have distributors selling in other retail channels. And you really need to maintain a price stability in the market for the product. So when you see that going haywire, then you need to, that's where I think actually an ABS or an Amazon, vendor manager can really help you. It's like, look, we see that the price, the pricing on this particular product is way down. And it's like you're losing margin, which is generally the best argument with Amazon, is it's like you're giving unnecessary margin away because it's being sold like this across the market, at the rate, let's say the recommended retail price. And the other thing you have to watch out for is promotions that you don't know about that maybe your distributors or your retailers are doing that's actually driving the Amazon price down. So you need to kind of watch both. And if you have, let's say in the UK, Pets at Home is running a price off, that's going to bring Amazon's price down. And then when it's over, you just need to make sure that Amazon's price goes back up so that they're not coming to you in 3 weeks, a month and saying, look, this product isn't profitable for us anymore. So then you can work on lifting the price back up to normal levels. But I think it's imperative, especially if you're working in multiple channels with multiple retailers, you need to be able to control that as much as you can. All over Europe and in England, you can't even really talk about price, but you need to point it out in different ways to try to keep everybody at the right level.
So Amazon isn't, it's like what you say, less than 15% of your business, but in terms of time and resources dedicated to Amazon, what would you say is the percentage of your week taken to working on Amazon related tasks?
That's tough. I'd probably say, but I have a team of people.
The business,
If I look at the total business, Amazon's probably like at least 20-25% of that. So there are, it takes up a lot of time. There's a lot of things you need to stay on top of to make sure that the business is really flowing well. And that's all the logistics, all the, all the product availability that you need to update all the time. That's something I would also say is very good to stay on top of. Avoids a lot of fees, missed orders, all that, by just making sure that Amazon's availability of what they can get from you is actually accurate to what you have in your warehouse and can deliver.
Thank you. Great advice again. A question, and I know there is no right answer here at all, but from your wealth of experience, have you got any top tips for negotiating with Amazon at all that kind of protects your profitability?
Well, I think it's hard to negotiate with them because it's difficult to know. It all depends on who you're negotiating with. So if you're in one of the years where they've hired like lots of consultants who really are on a mission and you don't have much negotiation power whatsoever. But I think you need to know the power of your brand. And again, if there's demand for your brand, you have more power to negotiate. And I would also say that don't always take what they're trying to push on you, because then, I mean, there's been certain negotiations where I've simply said, okay, well, then I'm going to pull that brand off Amazon and you won't have access to it if we can't be a little bit more reasonable. And I think people are afraid to walk away from Amazon. But I think in certain situations, if they're really, way out of bounds, you need to push back on them. And that would be my only thing, is just have confidence in yourself and the brand, and make sure that it's a reasonable give and take.
Wonderful. Right. Thank you. So we've talked about how the percentage of your working week with your team and your agency partners as well. What sort of tools do you have, or are they all custom built within Outward Hound to help you with all of this management? Do you use any external tools at all that you recommend?
Not really. We built almost everything internally. Some of the vendor tools are okay. They can help guide you. They're in Vendor Central, and those are, like I say, like product availability is a really good one. You can also look at how you can optimize the SKUs, and I can't remember, I don't do the details, like I said, but you can get in and look on an individual SKU basis where you can improve what you're actually showing, A+ content. And your Amazon context will give you once a year. It's like, this is where you should improve, and we take that on every year. And we took that on, especially when we were just starting out. It's like, if they're pointing out that it's like, only 60% of your catalog has A+ content. Okay, well, that's something you really need to work on in order to get that up and have a better score. And that also helps your sales. So those are good, like, things that come from Amazon. And then on the other side, again, I think you really need to track the forecasting, your inventory, what you're selling into Amazon and what you're selling out of Amazon. And you can do all that with spreadsheets. It takes a lot longer, than having it all automated, but you need to start somewhere. And I think you can do that, and just don't put too many SKUs on Amazon at one time till you get the process set.
Yes, some brands have hundreds of SKUs and feel out of control because of that, don't they? All aspects, from marketing to pricing to distribution. There's too many SKUs to actually manage.
You're right on point. And it's like, a lot of, you have 1,000 SKUs that you produce, and these are 1,000 SKUs. And people want to put 1,000 SKUs on Amazon because they should all be successful, right? But it's totally not true. And it's like, the more complex you make it, the more difficult it is. And it also, the investment starts to go up. So you're not going to have the same return on investment when you have 1,000 SKUs as you may get with only 100 SKUs. And the complexity is far smaller. You can invest more strategically, and it's better for the whole organization and your profitability.
Thank you. Yeah, totally agreed. I think that just makes commercial sense with all kind of decisions, doesn't it? Do things well, move on, rather than trying to do 1,000 things and not getting anywhere and spread yourself too thinly. So what are the key signals you watch that indicate that the business is healthy, and have those kind of things changed over time? So when you're looking at the account holistically, your seniority, what are you particularly looking at?
I mean, really only two things. It's like, what are we selling into Amazon? And you can, from the, let's say, your vendor manager or an ABS, you're going to get reports on a weekly basis, and you can see the overview. So I can see all the markets that we're selling in, which is all of Europe and the UK. You can see how you're performing to prior year, to prior week. And you can see, are you growing or contracting in any particular market? And I mean, at the end of the day, it's what you sell into them. but you need to make sure that they're also selling out. So that they keep buying. And if you see, let's say you see a particular market that is really performing way under, prior year, what's causing it and which SKUs aren't performing. And then you need to start looking into it. And it's like, what did we change? Did we pull back on promotions, or is our advertising not doing anything with that particular SKU or those SKUs, or that brand? And it's like, so, but I think on a very high level, look at what's your sales in, what are the sales out, and the PCOGs that you get back from them, and make sure that those two are synced and growing at the same time.
And then just deep dive, like you say, if there is trends performing down, or I suppose trends performing up, what's going well?
Yep. What's driving it? Because sometimes all of a sudden a certain category or a certain type of product or product range all of a sudden starts to take off, and you start to see growth in a market. Well, you may want to lean into that because it's like you already have the organic ranking, and maybe you can, put a little bit more advertising on that, reach a little bit broader mass, and keep the growth going. So, and that's where your partners come in, with the advertising to actually help you, design the right campaign, make sure you're reaching the right people, you have the right messaging going, and I mean, that does a lot to help support the brand as well.
Yeah, very, very important. Very important to kind of all work together, I suppose, as a team, isn't it, with all your different partners in place. I suppose this is a final question then. And it's, again, there is definitely no right answer to this. So many vendor brands, they contribute significant percentages to the co-op and promotional funding, such as Prime Day events. How do you evaluate? So it kind of comes back to an earlier question, but how do you evaluate what investment drives growth versus simply kind of shifting margin to Amazon? It's a really difficult question here, but have you got an example of where you've kind of made this big decision and it's worked well?
I think on the promotion side, you have to, it's trial and error. So, we've learned that, certain events, deal events, do not work as well as other things for us. So when you're starting out, I think you need to try everything and see what actually works and what's giving a return back. And that allows you to know, when you're going to go heavy on promotion, or when you should be, investing more in advertising, or when you should pull back on promotion. And even though Amazon wants, 500 SKUs for Prime Day, it's like, well, it doesn't make sense for us, for my brand, because we've learned that isn't going to be that impactful. So I think you have to, what I've done is track it over the years. And so I know what events, what periods, what seasonality, what's really going to actually work. And I think you invest in those, and then you definitely need to have at the beginning of the year a set budget for what are you going to put into promotions. And I would break that down by quarter, so that you can test a little bit, and then see how you're doing and see, did you overspend, underspend, especially with promotions? Are you getting the refill, and Amazon ordering back into it? Because if you're not, then okay, then you gave away a lot of margin, and you're really not growing the business or anything. So you need to keep all that, look right.
Well, there's a couple of things there, isn't there? Like Amazon keep launching new event days, so constantly testing new event days, but also thinking about your ranking. Like, do those promotional periods, when the sales velocity increases, like does your ranking benefit from that? And how long does that ranking benefit for? Is it worth that investment? Or I suppose, like, this is probably the case for Prime Day at Christmas. Are you just bringing forward sales that were going to happen anyway? So I suppose you just got to look at this so strategically right at the beginning of the year, and like you say, test, measure it by quarter and continually test, because if Amazon had their way, I'm sure you'd be discounting all of the time. You'd
be on sale every single month.
Yeah.
So no, you can't really do that. And I think now I don't know, since 2019. So we, let's say by now, I know which periods are really going to give a good return for us. and Amazon will talk up every single event that they have, and they're really going to invest, and there's going to be, TV ads and all that. And it's true, but it's like, are consumers on this particular event actually going to be looking for your category of products, or is there a better time of the year where they're looking for your products? And you're probably not going to know that until you do all that, and go through the different events and the different timing. So it's test, track, and then evaluate it, and then adjust for the following year.
Would you say the US business versus the kind of Europe, or more specifically the UK, is there a difference in shopper behavior at all? And like peaks and troughs in demands?
It's quite similar for our category of products. So there's certain times of years where people are more likely to do it. I mean, and an interesting one is like, for thinking of pets, it's like, I just read an article that was done with a research survey. Now, Valentine's Day accessories for pets, that grew exponentially the last couple of years. So it's like, that's probably something where you want to either be, increasing your advertising on that if you have the products to support it, or putting those on promotion. So it's really is, you got to know your product, you got to know the seasonality, what's the right time of year, and follow the results.
I'm sure influencers must be building that trend, because where has that trend come from to buy your dog a Valentine's gift? I don't know.
But the funny thing is, it's coming from the younger consumers, the Gen Z and the millennials. They would, and this survey actually showed that it's like they would rather buy their pet a Valentine's gift than their partner.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like, I was like, well, okay, so yeah, I don't know. I think there's a big risk in that.
How does the partner feel?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. So.
Oh, that is definitely a social media clip there, Ken. That is very interesting. Thank you. Okay, right. We come to my favorite part of the podcast now. So this is quick fire round. There is no right answer. Just say true or false, and then like a one-line answer. So yes, let's dig in. True or false? Amazon provides earlier signals of shifts in consumer demand than traditional retail.
Yes, true.
Okay. True or false? Long-term thinking tends to create better outcomes than focusing on short-term gains.
Absolutely true.
True or false? Amazon has become an essential part of a balanced retail strategy.
True.
Do you love or hate that fact?
Hate it, but I love it. I love it and I hate it. It's like, how can you not hate Amazon but love it at the same time?
Okay, true or false? No 2 years on Amazon are ever quite the same.
True.
True or false? The fundamentals of retail still apply even on Amazon.
True and false.
Ooh, expand.
Yeah, well, I think, I don't know. It's in some senses, yes. And, in a lot of senses, no, because when you're in regular retail, there's other types of opportunities. And I think Amazon also presents a completely different type of opportunity. But I mean, the structure is the same. Promotions are key in both channels. And you need to manage both of those. So I'd say true and false. That's different. A difficult one.
So I'm going to ask a question that wasn't on my script. If you were personally launching a brand today in the pet space, that can be a toy, food, whatever it might be, it's just a pet brand. Would you launch on Amazon retail or on your own website, and in terms of really significantly investing resources, time and money? So Amazon, physical retail, or your own D2C site? Where would you invest those resources?
I would absolutely do Amazon, because you immediately have a broader reach, because you're talking about D2C from my own website, right? I would absolutely do Amazon first. For me, I think that comes at a much later stage where you have you've built up your brand, you're recognized, you have consumer loyalty, then they may want to buy from you. And you also need to have retail distribution. I don't think you can, I think in today's world, you got to be multi-channel. I don't think you can just be on Amazon, can't just be in retail. You should be everywhere, and you need to manage the business holistically.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. However painful the Amazon fees are, what percentage of your revenue is taken from Amazon advertising and all of the different fees that they throw at you, it's where your customers are, isn't it? So love it or hate it.
Exactly. And you reach a lot of end consumers that you may not reach, who may not be shopping in the retail chain that you're actually in. And I think the other thing I would say, somebody new to like a new brand starting out or whatever, is it's like you need to really take all that in when you're setting up your pricing, so you have the margin structure to deal with Amazon and the retail, because retail isn't cheap either. It's not free to be in store.
No, definitely not. It's all about the margins, isn't it? All about the margins, and understanding as well that your profit margins are going to, well, you may not be profitable for a period of time when launching a product because of the investment it takes to get that momentum and get your brands, into consumers' hands and loved and repeat purchased. So yes, it's definitely not a short-term win. It's a long-term investment and a significant investment for new brands out there. So yes, well, that kind of concludes this podcast. I want to thank you, Ken, so very much for your time, your insights, your advice, and everything you've said has been top tier advice. So is there anything that you think we haven't covered in today that you would like to share with like new to vendor brands or vendor brands that are really struggling with that Amazon relationship or trying to make it work? Any other advice that you haven't already said? I know you've given so much value.
No, I don't really think so. I mean, I think I've given a lot of the basics, and I think, I don't know. It's a great opportunity, and you just need to manage it and make it work for you. And when it's not working for you on certain items, then pull the items and sell those someplace else.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ken. Yeah. Been a pleasure.
Yeah. Well, put me on. It was a nice experience. So
thank you.